I was out of options. Rent was overdue, my car was one bad noise away from dying, and job applications were going unanswered. So when a generic-looking email popped into my inbox with the subject line, Night Security Technician, Immediate Hire, high pay, I didn't think twice. The interview was just a phone call. The voice on the other end was calm, genderless, almost synthetic. They told me the job was simple: watch a bank of monitors from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. 5 nights a week. No leaving the building. No checking outside. And under no circumstance should I rewind the footage. That feature is for corporate use only, they said. I should have questioned that, but when I saw the paycheck, I shut my doubts down. The building was an old biotech research facility on the outskirts of town long since gutted. The company defunct, but apparently someone still owned the security rights. The first night was uneventful. The camera feeds 9 total showed empty hallways, silent laboratories, and dark loading docks. Nothing moved. Nothing blinked. The silence felt thicker than the air. I kept glancing behind me, not because I heard anything, but because I felt like I should have. By 3, I'd gotten comfortable. Bored, even. That was, until one of the screens blinked. Just for a second, a static pulse, barely noticeable. Camera 6, I leaned in. The hallway was still empty. I assumed it was a glitch, but just before the shift ended, the monitor flickered again, and this time, it lingered. A single frame, frozen like a corrupted VHS. A still image of the hallway, with a faint outline standing at the far end. By the 3rd night, I started watching camera 6 more than the others. It became a habit, like checking over your shoulder in a dark alley. The figure hadn't returned, not clearly, but the flickers were growing more frequent. Sometimes the camera would cut to black for less than a second and come back with the hallway lights dimmer, shadows stretched longer than they should be. At first, I told myself it was just electrical interference. Maybe the building was old and the wiring faulty, but the thing about old buildings is they creak. They groan. They breathe with age. This place was utterly still. Too still. Around 2:17 on night 4, I saw something that made my stomach drop. I watched myself, me, on camera 4, which was pointed at the security office, but I wasn't moving. I was just sitting there, stock still, eyes fixed straight ahead, unblinking. I quickly looked away from the monitor and spun in my chair. The room was empty, save for me. No one behind me. No mirror tricks. But when I turned back to the feed, my on-screen self slowly tilted his head, like he was listening to something I couldn't hear. From that moment, things escalated. Doors opened on their own. Lights in distant rooms flickered on and off, though my control panel showed no activity. And most disturbingly, the timestamps on the recordings were beginning to misalign. IG checked the hallway on camera 3 at 3:05 a.m., but then the same footage would appear again at 3:19 a.m., identical. Down to the movement of dust motes in the air, a loop, a perfect loop. And inside that loop, the outline was back, clearer this time. Human-shaped, watching. By the end of the first week, camera 6 had become something I dreaded. It didn't always show the figure, but when it did, it was unmistakable. A tall man in what looked like a dark lab coat, his face completely indistinct, as though the pixels refused to resolve his features. At first, he stood motionless at the far end of the hallway, barely more than a shadow among shadows. But over successive nights, he was closer. Not by much, just a few feet each time, like some kind of digital predator stalking through the screen. I tried asking about it, sent an email to the supervisor address they gave me. No reply. The next night, my inbox was empty, and the camera feeds had changed. Camera 6 now had a faint low hum behind its footage. Like static, but deeper. And every time I looked away, I could swear I felt his gaze, some subconscious tug in the back of my mind. It wasn't just visual anymore. It was sensory. Like the feed wasn't just being watched, it was watching back. That night, I turned away from the monitors to stretch. When I glanced up again, the live feed of the hallway had changed. There was a note taped to the wall in the shot. It hadn't been there moments before. I zoomed in. The note read, "Why do you keep looking?" I ran out of the office. Sprinting down the hallway, heart racing, I turned the corner to where camera 6 faced. Nothing. No note. No man. Just empty tile and peeling drywall. But when I returned to my station, breathless and sweating, I was already sitting there on the monitor, watching myself come back, and this time he turned to wave. I should have quit. I should have walked out that very night and never looked back. But I didn't. I needed answers. That's what I told myself. But deep down, I think it was something worse, curiosity infected with fear. The kind that makes you peel back the curtain, even when you know you want to like what's behind it. At the start of my next shift, the rewind button was no longer grayed out. It pulsed faintly, like it was waiting for me, tearing me. I waited until after 3 a.m. and the feeds always got stranger, and hovered my finger above it. Just once, I told myself. One clip, one rewind. The footage jumped back 5 minutes. Camera 6, the hallway. But it wasn't 5 minutes ago. It was me, sitting at the monitor, from a different night entirely, maybe 2 or 3 days prior, but something was off. I was fidgeting, biting my nails, glancing nervously over my shoulder. Then, on the screen within the screen, the man appeared. Not in the hallway, but behind me, in the security office. He reached toward my shoulder, and the moment he touched it, the footage froze. Glitched. Then started playing in reverse, as if someone else was pulling the controls. My screen showed old versions of me sleeping at the desk, pacing the room, even crying once, but in each one, the man in black was closer, more present, as if I had always been watched. And in one frame, just one, I saw myself looking directly into the camera, whispering something. I leaned in, paused it, tried to read my lips. He's not in the footage. I didn't understand what it meant until the monitor turned off. Not just camera 6, all of them. And then, behind me, I heard breathing. The monitor stayed black for exactly 12 minutes. I know because I counted every second in my head while staring at my own reflection in the dark glass, too terrified to turn around. The breathing behind me had stopped, but the feeling hadn't. That feeling of being studied, not watched, studied. When the screens finally flickered back on, they weren't the same feeds. No halls, no labs. No camera 6. Every screen showed one room, the security office. But not as it looked in real time. Not exactly. In the feeds, the desk was perfectly clean, unlike mine. The light overhead wasn't flickering, and the man sitting in the chair, and me in the chair, wasn't moving. He was pale, still. His face was locked in a blank expression, lips slightly parted like he'd just exhaled for the last time. And then he blinked. I stumbled back. That version of me on every screen slowly turned toward the camera, all 9 angles. Eyes fixed directly on me. It wasn't just one perspective, it was every perspective. I could see myself in 360 degrees, frozen in place while the feeds began to distort. The edges of the frames warping like melting film. One by one, each monitor changed. No longer showing the security room. Now they showed places I recognized. My apartment, my old high school, my mother's nursing home. All empty. All shot from static angles, as if they'd always been recording. The final screen, top center, changed last. It was me, now. Standing in front of the monitors, I turned around. The room was gone. Just darkness. A low hum. And the sensation of being broadcast, not just recorded, but transmitted. I wasn't watching the footage anymore. I was the footage.